If staff is ready. You guys ready? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Paris Planning Commission meeting. Can you believe it? May 3rd, 2023. And we appreciate you coming out tonight. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so that should be interesting. We'll take it. We'll take it. It's approximately 6:07 p.m., and we will get started with our roll call.
Commissioner Lopez,
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Here.
Commissioner Gomez,
Here.
Vice Chair Shively,
Present.
Chair Hammond.
Here, I guess, since I opened it, right? Thank you. And our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Lopez.
Please stand for the pledge.
Thank you very much. And at this time, we go to item number 4, which is presentation. I don't believe we have one. And then we go to number 5, consent calendar. The Planning Commission minutes for April 5th, 2023. Do we have any changes, corrections, deletions, additions, typos?
I did want to ask a clarifying question because under item 2, under roll call, it shows that we were all present, but then for the voting, it says that Commissioner Gomez was absent. Is that okay to have, or do we need to make that correction?
We'll need to make that correction. So we'll fix it. I think you were here, so we'll make that adjustment.
Or you realize you were here, right?
She didn't know she was here.
Okay. Okay, so that's one correction.
Okay.
Okay, good. We're going through the process. I know it's going to seem crazy, but at this time, we open up for public comment on the consent calendar. And if there's any public comment out there on consent, I know that consent calendar. Hey, Brown Act stuff. Okay, consent calendar. At this time, anyone's willing to speak, they can come to the podium. If not, we'll close the public comment on the consent calendar and call for a motion. With a correction. It's been moved by Commissioner Jimenez, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With 5 yeses, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. At this time, we move to item 6A, public hearing, the scoping meeting for an environmental impact report associated with Development Plan Review 22-00018. Proposal to construct a 643,419 square foot industrial warehouse building on 34.52 acres, located south of Ellis Avenue, north of Case Road and between Getz Road and the I-215 freeway, APNs 330-090-006 and 330-090-007. In the light industrial zone, the applicant Courtney Smith, Newcastle Partners. Requested action, conduct a public scoping meeting to review, discuss, and provide comments on the potential environmental impacts associated with the project. To note, this is a scoping meeting and a scoping meeting only, so we're not going to get into the details of the architecture as much as we'd like to. Okay, so it's a scoping meeting. Now, I don't believe there's one to say it anyway. Is there any ex parte communication, site visits?
I know of the site.
Okay,
I know of the site.
okay,
I've not been to the site.
okay. And I have been by the site. Okay, thank you very much. And at this time, we have a presentation for the city.
Yes, thank you,
see it.
Chair, and good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you, Chair, for that for that introduction, I'm sorry. My name is Alfredo Garcia, and I'm your Associate Planner, and as mentioned this evening, we have before you the Ellis Logistics Center Industrial Project, EIR scoping session. So the purpose of tonight's session is to provide information on the proposed Ellis Logistics Center Industrial Project, to allow the Planning Commission, interested persons, organizations, and agencies the opportunity to comment on the preliminary assessment of the environmental issues that would need to be addressed in the project-specific EIR. And again, as mentioned by the Chair, no action is required at this time for the proposed project. Also, tonight's presentation will be a two-part component. I will introduce the overall project in itself, and Mr. Alex Jewell, who is the environmental consultant for the project, will further explain the intricacies and the CEQA component of the project. The project is located in the south portion of the city, and it's comprised of 34.552 acres. It is located south of Ellis Avenue, north of Case Road and the railroad, between Getz Road and the I-215 freeway, with a light industrial land use designation. For added reference, the project site is located west of the Action Star paintball facility and is located east of the Global Plastics Recycling Center. This is a street view looking north along Case Road at the subject site. This is a southeast view from Ellis Avenue looking at the project site. And this image is a north view from the project site. So if you were to be standing in front of the project site looking south, but you make a 180, this is the image that you would see before you. As mentioned, the general plan and the zoning for the site are both consistent for light industrial. So there was no need for a general plan amendment or a zone change associated with the project. The site is surrounded by other light industrial land use designations and zones. And the subject site just to the south of the project site that belongs to the Green Valley specific plan, that site, that land use is also designated for light industrial. So it will be consistent with industrial uses surrounding the project site. The industrial uses are permitted subject to the approval of a development plan review. As mentioned, that will go before the Planning Commission in the future. The project site is bisected by Zone D and Zone E with respect to the Paris Valley Airport map. Both allow for low noise impacts and the risk being low, which does permit for industrial uses to be constructed in the area. And with respect to the ALA compatibility plan, it is located in Zone E for an airport environs zone, which is what they call it. That also is subject to low noise impacts and the risk is low, which also allows for industrial uses to go there. Here's the site plan. Staff is currently working with the applicant on the site plan. Again, staff will be taking the site plan elevations in the entire project before the Planning Commission for ultimate review and hopefully the blessing of the project in the future. The site proposes 643,419 square foot of industrial building on the 34 acres. There will be 5 acres of open space in the southeast portion of the site, which is actually a floodplain area, so no structures will be proposed in that site, so it will remain as open space. Access is taken along Ellis Avenue. The western driveway is a 28-foot driveway that will segregate for domestic vehicles, employee vehicles to enter the site, and they can park their vehicles on the western and southwestern portions of the site. The other driveway is a 50-foot driveway, and that will be designated for trucks only. Trucks can enter the site and they can access the front bay areas to dock, unload, load, or park their trailers. Also, will have access along the western portion via clearance through a guard shack to also load or unload or park their trailers in the southern portion of the project site. All trailers and loading docks areas will be screened with a 14-foot high wall that will be bermed to only expose an 8-foot high wall, decorative wall, from the public right-of-way as well. In addition, if it helps, 21% right now will be landscaped for the subject site, which is pretty substantial in my opinion. And also 21 EV charging stations are being proposed as well. In addition, the subject site is in conversations, or the applicant is working with the Railroad Commission and extending the rail to access the site through a south gate. This will allow a rail that will extend into the project site and can station 4 train carts in the southeast portion of the site so they can load and unload and then marry back into the railway system for transportation. These are images of the proposed building elevations. The architecture is a modern industrial architecture. It will be a painted concrete tilt-up panels with low reflective material. There will be heavy use of windows throughout the entire site, which will separate the cap wall and base of the project, which should give overall interest to the building. Oh, my apologies, I went a little fast there. The bottom image is a zoomed image of the entryways or the corner statements of the project site, just to show the symmetry of the building as well. The image on top will be the image that will be seen along Ellis Avenue. Here we have before you the interior west elevation and the interior east elevation of the subject site, and the south elevation of the subject site. And as you could see, even though there will be no views from the public right-of-ways from the east and west side, the same architectural materials are still being wrapped 360 degrees through the entire building. Also, some images of the lunch patio areas, and as well as the trash enclosures that will match the same color of the building for consistency purposes. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. I will introduce Mr. Alec Jewell, who is a CEQA consultant with the applicant's project team, to further explain the CEQA portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Alex Jewell. I'm with Kimley Horn and Associates, and I'm representing the applicant. I have about a 10-slide presentation here. We're going to talk about the California Environmental Quality Act, the purpose of the scoping meeting, the technical studies that we're going to be preparing as far as for this environmental impact report, go over a brief project schedule for you, discuss the opportunities that the public will have to comment on the document, and then contact information for anyone who wishes to provide a comment on the project. For those who may not be familiar, the overarching purpose of CEQA has 4 main points. It's to inform the public and the decision makers of the project and the potential impacts, identify ways that those environmental impacts can be reduced, prevent significant impacts by requiring changes to the project or mitigation measures, and also disclose to the public why a project was approved if there are significant impacts associated with the project. The purpose of tonight's scoping meeting is that we went through a project, an initial study as part of the notice of preparation process and identified that the project may have significant impacts on the environment. So as part of that process, we have this scoping meeting, which invites members of the public and other agencies an opportunity to comment on what they would like to see included in the analysis that's provided in the document. And so we solicit guidance from the public as well as the commission on what they'd like to see as part of the analysis. And then also just as a disclosure meeting to let the public know that there is going to be an environmental impact report prepared for this project. So the purpose of the EIR is pretty similar to what I discussed a couple slides ago regarding the CEQA process. And that's, again, it's intended to be a disclosure document. We're identifying potential impacts, environmental impacts that may be associated with this project. We're identifying mitigation measures that are being proposed to reduce or avoid those impacts. We're going to look at alternatives to the project that may reduce one or more significant impacts associated with the project. We're trying to promote interagency coordination with the document so that if there's more than one agency that's going to rely on this document for approvals, that we have a coordinated effort and we address all of the environmental impacts associated with address all the environmental impacts that agency may be concerned with. And then also, it's intended to provide a comprehensive environmental document to disclose those impacts for you as the commission and again, the city council, so you have an understanding of what environmental impacts may be associated with the project. So as part of the scoping effort that we went through with the initial study process, we identified 5 issue areas where those impacts have been determined to be less than significant. Those were the agriculture and forestry resources, mineral resources, population and housing, recreation, and wildfire. And we found that through the analysis in the initial study that no further analysis would be required in the EIR. That initial study, as part of the notice preparation, will be included in the EIR as Appendix A, so that when this document ultimately goes out for public review, people will be able to see the analysis we did as part of the NOP and why we concluded those impacts were less than significant. As far as the EIR, there's about almost 20 additional topic areas that will be evaluated as part of the EIR. You can see them here. I won't read them all to you, but there will be a comprehensive analysis for potential impacts associated with this EIR. We are preparing site-specific technical studies for this project. Again, you see the list here. It ranges everything from air quality and greenhouse gases, bioarchaeological, transportation, noise, hydrology and water quality, just to name a few of them. This is our preliminary schedule for the project. Started back in August, and then the spot right there with the red border around it is where we are right now in the process with tonight's scoping meeting. And then the next probably major milestone will be the circulation of the draft EIR for public review. That's anticipated to occur in October of this year. And then once that process is done, we'll spend some time responding to any comments that are received on the EIR and then prepare the final EIR, which we anticipate coming back before your commission in March, late first quarter, early second quarter for Planning Commission and City Council review. On the right-hand side of the slide is the opportunities for public comment. The public has the 30-day window right now to comment on the notice of preparation. And that comment period ends next week on May 8th. There will also be a 45-day public comment period as part of the review of the draft EIR. So there'll be opportunities for the public to review and comment on the EIR, as well as there's opportunities for public comment at the Planning Commission and City Council hearings. The notice of preparation is available on the city's website, shown in the link below, shown on the link on the slide. It's also available at the counter at the City Development Services Department. If someone is interested, they can request a digital copy from Mr. Garcia. His contact information is provided on the slide here, and as well on the city's website. And people and agencies are encouraged to send a written comment to the city. The contact information for Mr. Garcia is shown here. For anyone choosing to provide a written comment, we encourage them to include their name, address, and email and contact number so that staff can follow up if there's any questions regarding that comment. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Just getting back to the. Okay. At this time, are there any questions concerning the scoping? We're not going to get too much into details, but for staff and for environmental, we've seen what the areas are going to be covered. And at this time, if anyone, I know I have a few questions, but would like to discuss that.
I just have one question. Is it possible by chance to request an EIR for conceptual design of this project, a different conceptual design? For example, having two smaller buildings versus one. Just wondering if that's possible.
Generally, when you have alternates,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
required in
So,
the secret to do
yeah, so
alternate
having,
one, alternate two. Generally, that's what you would.
multiple EIRs, is that possible?
Not EIRs, but it's alternates.
Alternate designs.
They could, I think that the applicant heard you, and so we will just communicate with them to bring that as an alternative. I think an EIR is being prepared, so that could be an alternative.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. I should have this.
In the EIR, when we're looking at recreation, are we going to be looking at the airport use? I know we've had people come in who do the parachuting, people who come and do the paragliding and different things. Is that part of the recreation that is impacted when we look at recreation impact in the EIR?
You might want to, unless you can answer it for him.
I would defer that to the applicant if they're looking into that.
Okay.
Thank you. Just to ensure I understand the question, you're asking, is that part of the recreational analysis that we're looking at for the project?
Yes.
That wouldn't be probably considered a recreational impact. It might be considered a visual impact. We'll take a look at that. It's not something we considered, so we'll.
It's both. We had another project where they were saying it was like in their land path or when they fly and it changes the wind. So we have, I think it was more or less, there's different kinds of uses where they are impacted because the building is now blocking the wind and shifts their, so it is a high risk area if the wind shifts or bounces. I remember from one of our previous projects. So I think it is kind of recreational, and we have the parachutes there. People like to, what, I forget, parachute school. So I think that is a big area of recreation in our city. That is one of the things that we highlight in our city with the lake parachuting. The airport is used for multiple uses, not just.
We could look at it from a public safety standpoint with the airport. I think that could be tied just if the site location would impact the airport.
Well, the airport is different from the recreational uses that are being used there, right?
Typically, the recreational aspect of the CEQA document is separate. That's not my understanding. That's like a different component because recreation is does the industrial product impact like park usage, things of that nature, not necessarily. So I think it's more tied to public safety. Does this building location impact the safety operation of the airport? And that would be one of the things that they would need to look at. If that
It kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't, because for me, recreation, and maybe I need to look deeper into it. Recreation is any recreational purpose or any recreational area, right? It wouldn't necessarily be tied to a park or a city-appointed location. Like Disneyland's a recreational place. Yeah,
Generally with the EIR, you're looking at impacts on parks itself,
okay.
which is why it's not considered significant in this one. Or housing is not adjacent
It's
to it within
not,
a certain
yes.
area. So would it impact, I don't know what park's down there, the park that's way down south, would it have an impact on that? You know, if it was adjacent to it or south of it or north of it, would impact that? That would mean the traffic, it could mean transportation routes, it could mean pollution, it could mean that. Generally, I think that's what they mean by a park itself, an actual park.
That's generally, facilities, from a facility standpoint or funding standpoint.
Can we go back to the slide to the one that shows what were actually, the ones that showed some impact? I think agricultural was one of them. Yes, that one. And can we go to the next one? Because these are less than significance, right? Because there's no real recreation. The next one that one. I think for, also, is this one under safety or transportation, looking at ingress, egress, speeds? Which one does that fall under?
Speaking of traffic, yeah, that would be under transportation.
And that will be measured because it's a large building, circulation, safety, access points.
Yes, we'll be studying driveway locations and in internal and internal egress and ingress into the site.
And will can I request that the test be done at multiple times, not on a Saturday when there's not a lot of traffic, but Monday morning on the way to work, Tuesday afternoon when there's high traffic for after work, like
Yes,
peak periods instead
we did do traffic counts for the project, and those were taken during weekdays. During
Peak
the
hours?
Peak hours,
Okay.
exactly.
I think that's it for me for now. Thank you.
My question is for the transportation element. In the auto traffic coming in versus the alignment of the property north of this one, which is another facility. So is the,
Sorry, you want to put the site, can you put the site map up? Just, I don't know where it is.
yeah, so the vehicle traffic, I'm not sure if the one that's directly aligned to the north of it, is that a potentially a truck access only, and will there be the investigation of the commingling of trucks coming into those lots and trucks coming into ours along Ellis Avenue?
Yes, that's currently what's being evaluated in our traffic analysis, and I do know that the civil engineer made several changes to the design to make sure that the driveways aligned on opposite sides of Ellis Avenue for exactly that purpose.
So to try to prevent the commingling of auto and truck traffic?
Well, not necessarily commingling, because they're both going to have to use the same street, but to avoid turning conflict, to avoid turning conflicts in and out of the driveways.
Correct. And then what's the direction of the train coming into the site? Is it through the flood area, or is it through another path?
So on the slide here, you can see there is where the spur comes off. It's shown as that dashed blue line, and it comes off, and it's going to come through the parking area there, and then ultimately where there's that angled side to the building in the southeast corner, the cars would line up so they could be directly loaded and unloaded from the building, and then the cars would reverse back onto the track.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about trains versus trucks on the road. I prefer a train on the road compared to trucks. And that study is part of the transportation element, I guess?
We're going to be looking at, we're currently coordinating with BNSF and Metro right now to see if this is even something they're willing to consider. But for purposes of our analysis, we're including it as part of the project description.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Just a quick question regarding the landscape. I was just wondering, just curious, it's probably not really part of it, just curious to know, these have mentioned 20%, is that including the flood zone?
Yes.
It does, okay, that makes a big difference. Okay, now that we have that clarified, I'm gonna move on to a different subject here. I think this is gonna be towards staff. The exhibit link in the email and the exhibit link that was provided for us in the presentation, actually, for some reason, it's not opening up. So I'm not sure, we can take a look at that, make sure that when public clicks on it, they're able to access the documents.
Okay.
Because I tried it on my phone and I tried it on the iPad.
Oh.
It won't open.
My email link or the link
I'm not
on
sure,
the city
the exhibits
website?
link.
The exhibits link?
From Sylvia.
The exhibits link.
exhibits link,
Uh-huh.
and it has like the link, so we could just click on it. It was an email that was sent on Thursday. We can click on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just want to make sure we take a
We'll
look
look
at
into
that and
that
make sure so we can get those
technicality.
documents.
We apologize for that.
When we're looking at the air quality portion of this, are we also measuring the air quality impact with the alternatives, or are we only looking at the air quality impact as is? So we can have a comparison of air quality impact of just one building versus air quality impact of two.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, but generally it depends if you come up with an alternative that has reduced number of truck trips, because the truck trips are generally the major generator of air quality. If it's something that's going to reduce less traffic trips, then we generally just do a qualitative analysis and say it's going to be less than the project. It's not a whole separate air quality analysis.
And will the study also include, as far as transportation, air quality impact if you don't get the railway versus if you do? Because if you don't, there's gonna be a lot more trailers.
A lot more truck trailers, is that, yeah, yes.
So that'll be a comparison. If we have the train line, the air quality impact would be this, because there will only be a certain amount of trailers in and out and trains.
We're going to take a conservative view in the analysis and assume that the rail spur does not reduce any truck trips.
Okay,
It may, ultimately, it may, but for purposes of providing a worst-case scenario as
Okay.
part of our analysis, we're going to assume that the rail spur does not reduce any truck trips.
perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. Worst case scenario,
Yes.
the most impact. Okay, thank you.
I actually like that question because I think that it would actually help, it would benefit to know, because the less trailers on the road for the city is better. Air quality and noise and all of that. So, having those two comparisons with one and the other, I think they should both be included, if that's a possibility.
There are some unknowns associated with that. It all depends what tenant ultimately ends up in the building and how they want to use that, and if or they decide to build the rail spur. So we're going to assume that it's all going to be built and go in to provide that worst case impact analysis. So you have the worst case scenario before you, but whether that ultimately gets built or not, or what tenant comes in and decides if they are or not going to use it, we don't know that at this point.
I guess part of my question too was an environmental impact of train versus trailer alone. I don't know, I'm not very familiar with how trains are run these days, what the impact is in air quality. So I would like to see that in the study, like if like the impact of a train use versus, you know what I mean? Because if a train fits 50 trailers, this is what the air impact is. If we have 50 trucks and trailers coming in and out, this is what the impact is. Kind of do a side-by-side comparison. I'm in trouble putting my thoughts into words tonight.
Got you. So just to confirm, will that be able to get done?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at that. I wrote down the note, so we'll include that in our analysis.
Okay, and staff can note that if we can please work with the applicant, make sure that we do highly consider the fact that we would like to see both. Thank you.
Okay, could you go back to the site plan for me, because I'm going to follow up on a few things. Okay. Well, three things I want to bring up. Number one, generally, if they have alternatives, this is just after so many years of hearing these, it'll be with no construction at all is one alternative generally happening. I almost guarantee that's going to be one of them. So if nothing happens at all, then the council says, no, we can't have nothing. Or a building that might be reduced in size by 300,000 is one. You're going to have a different study in terms of vehicle miles traveled, all the other things. That's another thing that generally is looked at. So if you, instead of a 600 or whatever, it goes down to 3, which is going to cost you a lot of money. But if that's reduced, then that reduces everything else. So those are alternatives that are generally looked at. The other alternative they're talking about is if without a rail spur, with rail spur, you're doing the most conservative, which is the right thing with the rail spur, whether without it. And that's one of those considerations. Would that have generate any impact? It may or may not have any impact. But you're also talking about reducing spaces, which means reducing the number of trucks, which also affects the vehicle miles traveled, the emissions. So that's why one of the reasons why we're bringing it up too, because if you reduce, it seems like it's going right through the parking lot, which means you're going to reduce spaces. So that has to be looked at. So if you have reduced spaces, you're going to reduce trucks, we need to reduce vehicle miles traveled, all those things start going down. So that's why consideration for that. So look at it that way. So as part of the alternative, you have to have alternatives, but it doesn't mean you accept them, but I mean you have to have some alternative. The other thing too, now if you look at the site plan, and this is going to throw this thing, a monkey wrench in this thing, you have the office area and the secondary office on the west side. Now in the flight plan territory, that's part of that, and you're going to have to have a discussions with ALAC, whatever they call it, about that being in their zone. And they may flip it off and say we don't care, but as part of this process, they're going to have to be included in the transportation thing because the offices on the west side are right in there. Now, they may say, or let them say it's insignificant. Or now to move them to the east or southeast, you're talking about rail spurs going through there, so that wipes that thing out. So we're going to really have an issue if they don't approve to look at this. That's part of the IR. They have to look at it and say, well, you're going to have it on the west side, but it's in our flight plan. And we may say that shouldn't affect it, but you know how these people are, right?
Right.
Good luck. If we wait another 16 months. The northeast corner or something like that, that's different. The other thing, transportation thing to look at, Ellis right now, I mean, basically it's the street going to the paintball. Now you're talking about trucks and you're talking about vehicles. Now we know that there's a proposed signal going in on that corner because the developer to the north is doing that, but now we're talking more trucks coming in and only one street using an entrance. So there's still going to be a what do you call it, 66-foot wide, or we're going to have 2 lanes or anything that is proposed. What would that proposal look like? So 1 lane in, 1 lane out. I don't know if that's going to work. But what happens on that street is another thing to study because if you have these trucks going in and circling around, they can't get out on the west side because the Western Recycling or some of the places there, unless you want them to drive through the paintball, they're not planning to drive down Ellis to go to Pius Metrolink to go to the freeway there. That's not part of the truck route, right? So and we're not talking about circulation going north on Redlands. Am I right? So they're going to have to, if they're not going north on Redlands, what happens there, or if you put something there in the street, they only can turn left and go back to Case Road, that's going to be an intersection nightmare because you have the railroad crossing. How is that going to be studied? How is that going to look? And what's going to impact this site, depending on where the trucks are supposed to go? So how we route these trucks, where they go, is going to impact the vehicle miles traveled, the number of trucks, the size, all that. So these are things you might have answers now, but the idea is that we're thinking in detail, because if you only one way in and one way out and you can't go east, you're going to have to go up Redlands past the post office and cross 4th Street to get back to the freeway, right? Or do the secret thing they do now, just go down 4th Street. We all know they do that. Come on, you know. Or you're going to cross the railroad crossing and then turn left and go, that's another circulation route, back to Case Road and down Case Road, which is still one lane each way, right? Now you got a traffic jam. So when we talk about circulation transportation, that may be the major thing here, because you're not near residences, you're not near homes. So it really comes down to transportation. And assuming Case Road at some time in the future gets widened, you still have that issue going down there. They're going to turn left at the railroad crossing. We know the city, right? So the railroad crossing, let's say go to Home Depot, but railroad crossing there, and so now we got another issue. So one thing starts building another. You talk about cumulative. This is cumulative. And so these things are going to have to be answered, because they're not going to go down Ellis unless you're going to widen it to 3 lanes, you know, which you're not going to do, because I know the paintball people would love that, but it's not going to happen. So you only got one direction to go. So that study and that analysis of that intersection is going to be real interesting, right? So those are things, and I don't even know if you need answers now, but just the idea, those are EIR secret questions that need to be addressed, even if it's 300,000 square feet instead of 600. Taking out those parking with the rail spurs is going to have to be addressed, because we may not be a lot of spaces, but it's going to impact this facility. Maybe you don't need that many spaces, okay? But those kind of things, and you know, I like the scenario of putting it in. The alternative with the other alternative, like they said, with it being out, then you don't have that issue. But if it's going to be there, you're going to take out some spaces. So I think I just about covered everything. The EIR report.
Yeah, no, thank you for those comments. Yeah, our traffic study will be evaluating all of that.
Good, good. Okay, anything else? Okay, yeah, I think you see where our focus is.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have you ever done another question?
Yeah, under transportation, do we also look at, we did say, right, ingress, egress, and possible alternatives, right? Just want to double check. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And if the developer has a presentation, I don't know if the developer's here, has a presentation or anything that you'd like to bring forward at this time, just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
That's going to be an easy one. Courtney Smith with Newcastle Partners.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like you knew my last name. I have nothing more to present, just because tonight's really focused on the elements to bring into the EIR, but it's been great working with staff, and we look forward to addressing all of your concerns and comments.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's pretty straightforward. If staff had anything they'd like to add in terms of the things that we presented, speak now, forever hold your peace.
Good evening, Commissioner Hammond, Chair Hammond, Commissioners. Regarding the traffic, the truck traffic, typically we want these centers to use Case Road, just like we conditioned the other project, the IDI project. So they would be upgrading Bonnie. I don't know if you know those areas, the interchange off 74. So those areas will be upgraded to accommodate truck turning traffic, yeah. And widening of Case Road, widening of the bridge of Case Road Bridge. And that's how we would ultimately want to see the truck traffic accessing these sites. I just wanted to clarify that for you.
Okay. And I think the circulation thing will be part of the IR. Leaving the access, once they leave, going south to Case Road, then the bridge, the railroad bridge crossing. So that one of the things that need to be studied. You know, what impact would that have there if you have a 600,000 square foot and everything's going south? So that would just have to be how much flow, what would be the level of service, whatever you guys use now. Okay. Okay. Well, we got staff here. Okay. Okay. At this time, we open it up for public comment. See, the city attorney is looking at me going, for public comment on this scoping issue. Anyone, we used to have the Zoom, no more Zoom, but anyone in the audience would like to come up at this time and discuss or have comments on this matter, we have 3 minutes, and we just do it as a matter of formality. If not, we close the public comment portion and close the public hearing, and I don't think there's any discussion because there's no vote, right? Okay. Thank you very much. It's almost too easy, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
I feel like we didn't do anything.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of, thank you. We didn't beat up anybody. We didn't work them over, you know. Okay. Okay. At this time, we move on to business item A, development update. I've been long awaited for. By our Director of Community Services, which encompasses a whole lot of different departments, code enforcement. Remind everyone he's code enforcement, so call him. Okay.
Good evening, Chairman Hammond and members of the Planning Commission. I don't get a full reprieve from making presentations, so every once in a while I will come back up to make presentations. So just want to let you know that. Real quickly, there was a request, I believe a couple months ago, to give an update of what's been happening in the city of Paris. This is projects, some highlight projects. It doesn't include everything, but some of the notable projects that we've have started construction, finished construction, and pretty much in the past year and a half or so. We're going to cover a few things in this presentation. The city has a variety of development. We have single family, we have multiple family, we have commercial, and we have industrial. We have a pretty complete spectrum of projects in Paris. And just before I begin, the marketing strategy for the city of Paris is, the city of Paris is at the center of it all, and so we want Paris to be a destination point for all the people that live in the Riverside region. So with that said, I'm just going to go quadrant by quadrant in the city of Paris. The first quadrant is pretty much just north of Ramon Expressway to the northern city limits, and then west of Paris Boulevard. In this area, we have Canyon Steel. It's a 25,000 square feet manufacturing operation of steel. They're currently located in the city of Riverside. They plan to relocate to Paris. If you drive out this area along Patterson, south of Harley Knox and at California, they're under construction right now, and so that will bring high-paying jobs. Steel manufacturing is a very like living wage related job. I think the minimum is $50 per hour, I believe, but it's a union labor, so it should be bringing good jobs to the city of Paris. Just east of this is along Nance and Webster Avenue. There is a 109,000 square foot industrial building that's just started vertical construction, and that might have started a couple months ago. And then moving further east along Ramona and Indian, there was an industrial project that maybe got completed last year. I just want to highlight some of the major projects that got completed. It's being occupied by what is known as Granger. They're kind of a supplier of, supplier of plumbing fixtures, things of that nature, very similar to Lowe's and Home Depot. The products that they store there and they distribute to warehouse retail buildings such as Lowe's and Home Depot. And just to the east of that site at Indian and Perry Street, there's a logistics building. It's 144,000 square feet that just got completed recently too. And the next quadrant I'm going to go to is in this area. It's just west of Indian, north of Ramona, to the northern city limits. And if you drive up this area, there's a 7-Eleven that's finishing construction on the northwest corner of Harley Knox and Paris Boulevard. And then to the northeast corner, Beyond Market is under construction right now. And then if you head further east to Harley Knox and Redlands, there's a 159,000 square foot industrial building that the Planning Commission approved maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and they just started grading. And then as you move east along Evans, north of Ramon Expressway, Pulte is under construction, a total unit of 282 units. I think Pulte intends to maybe buy the tract to the south and possibly to the east, but that's in process, and we don't know if Pulte will be the ultimate owner. But Pulte has bought the tract that's highlighted in red, and they are under construction. I think I missed one. And then just on the north side of Markham, east of Paris Boulevard, just north of, there's an Amazon building there. The truck terminal that we approved a little while back, that's finishing up construction. And so that will provide other opportunities for people who need to park their trucks, their semi-vehicles. And then this quadrant is pretty much south of Morgan, east of Paris Boulevard, west of the Paris Valley Storm Drain Channel. This is the kind of the next area that's going to, you'll see the next industrial growth. There's a lot of construction in that area if you drive by there. So at the northeast corner of Paris and Ryder Street, there's kind of there's a multiple smaller industrial building. The largest is 40,000 square feet. So on average, there's about 140,000, but it's multiple buildings there. As you head east on Ryder Street towards Redlands, you will see an 804,000 square feet industrial building that's just almost finalizing construction. And just north of that, there's a 549,000 square feet that started grading. And then as you move to the southeast of Ryder and Redlands, there's a 338,000 square foot industrial building that's going vertical construction. And just to the east of that, there's another 248,000 square feet industrial building that's going vertical construction. And then if you head south on Ryder and at what we call Wilson Avenue, the 300,000 square feet is just finished construction, 303,000 square feet. And then just north of that, there's another industrial building that's 154,000 square feet. So these projects have been approved, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, but you know, as they go through the plan check process, they start construction. So over time, you're going to just we'll update you as you ask us. We'll try to do it once a year and remind us, and then we'll make a presentation on what's happening. As you head further in the middle area of the city, this is along Evans, north of Nuevo, south of Orange Avenue. If you go to this area, there's the Orange Vista High School there. Just south of it, D.R. Horton bought that tract. It's about 209 single family. D.R. Horton also bought the tract at Nuevo and Evans. I think they started grading right there too, and that's 75 single family. And then there's another Beyond Market at Nuevo and Marietta Road. So Beyond Market has a few projects in the city, and so this is the second one they started construction on. And this one is probably close to completed. I haven't been there a couple of weeks, but if it's not completed now, it's close. And then we go more towards the central area of the city of Paris, north of, well, generally north of Nuevo, and then along Paris Boulevard. I'll work my way from top left to bottom and then go to the right. As some of you are aware, we approved what we call the Barrett apartment project a while back, 202 units. It took a while just because they sold it. We found a multiple family housing developer, and they were interested in our market. So that, if it hasn't started vertical construction, it should start vertical construction soon, which is pretty much north of Orange, of the Spectrum Center, and the west side of Paris Boulevard, just behind the Wiener Schnitzel. And then the KFC you approved a while back. Just want to let you know, just want to highlight something. KFC, you all probably been there already, but that's been a recent project that got constructed. And then something that happened really quickly is, you recently approved In-N-Out. They did add risk plan check, so they're already, as you know, they started grading. So that's happening right now. That's on the south side of Nuevo and Old Nuevo Road. And then as you head to the right side of the presentation, south of Orange, west of Medical Center Drive, there's a townhome development that's wrapping up. It's 131 units there. So we have a kind of a good spectrum of projects in Paris. And then this is the IDI project just north of the site that you heard the scoping meeting for. That's almost 800,000. That's under construction right now. So that's happening. They also have two other buildings to the west of this, 1 million each, approximately 1 million square feet each. Eventually, they'll start on the west side of the site. And then heading to the very south end of the city, we have a track at Marietta Road, north of Ethenac. That's in the Green Valley Specific Plan. Richmond American started construction. That is 116 single-family residential development. There's other stuff in the works. There's other tracks that Green Valley is going to start construction. We've been negotiating with home builders, so you'll see more progress if we've come back here in a year or so to give you an update. And just one other highlight in this area by the Corkies, so just north of Ethenac on the west side of Case Road, there's a September's restaurant and tap and brew bar that's under construction. They just started grading, I think, this week, I believe. We had a grand opening, groundbreaking, not a grand opening, groundbreaking last week. So they have a couple of locations in Western Riverside. It's going to be an exciting project, provide other opportunities for people in south end of Paris to go to a more upper scale restaurant. So it's exciting. So with that, I would just want to summarize. Just within the last year and a half and just ongoing development, we have about 682 single-family homes. Multiple family, we have started or will continue on construction, totaling about 333 multiple family homes. We kind of just highlight the 6 commercial developments that are going throughout Paris. There will be more, but I just wanted to highlight things that are going on. And then just within the last 18 months or so, there's 4.2 million square feet of industrial. So we're slowly building out the remaining industrial land in Paris. With that said, this is a presentation to receive and file. If you have any questions, I'm here more than happy to answer those questions for you.
Any comments? Okay, Commissioner.
I would have liked to see numbers of how much we've developed in industrial and how much is left. That is still zone industrial.
I can bring you back another presentation.
Yes, because I want to see the numbers and also the numbers of like, we have this many homes, but I think how many and how the square footage. Because, we like to see where the square footage of the residential commercial is kind of equal to the industrial, not
Okay.
6 houses looks different than 42,000. Six commercial versus 42,000 industrial, where if we give square footage of both too, that would be nice to see.
Okay.
Not that I
Well,
want to be out of a job, but I do want to
Yes.
fill out the industrial so then we can work on other stuff.
Yes, we'll
And we won't be able to meet.
I'll bring back that presentation. But just to say that pretty much most of the land has been accounted for. They're just in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I do have a question. Kenneth, regarding, just gonna, just bounce off of Elizabeth here regarding the industrial buildings that are coming in. If we can also include in that presentation information on just how the truck route enforcement is working out and how that's coming out. It's just a matter of time before we see, the reason why I'm asking is just a matter of time before we see these buildings that are in the pipeline, and they're, once they all open, we're going to see a huge influx of trailers and trucks in our city. And the concern is that because they're going to be open very simultaneously, that it's going to be very messy. And I think we'd like to avoid that. So if we can have, I know that we've been requesting a plan of action for enforcement. I've seen enforcement, I've seen the ticketing, but then I started to realize that the ticketing every weekend and the same trucks are still parked in the residential areas. For them, it's paying for parking. I just realized that. I was like, why is he still here again? And you look at the citation, has the date of that day. So it's not, the same sticker from last time. And so there's a real concern that's brewing underneath. And I think that it would be smart for us to figure out what can be done so that when it does come up and the residents seek answers to questions, they'll be in place as a preventive measure and not something as a last minute response or reaction, please. And that's that part. And it's always difficult to talk about that, but it's something that's very important. And then in regards to, you mentioned the townhomes. Are those the same ones that are on Orange that are individuals? Okay, so are they homes or are they townhomes?
They're considered townhomes because they're attached. They're like three attached units together, but they all have if that makes sense.
Are they attached?
There's two different ones. These are like hidden a little bit more.
Oh, okay. So this is another track.
Yeah, because there's orange, like when you're driving south, the ones on the right-hand side, those are houses.
Yes.
These are like on the left-hand side, but they're kind of hidden because I haven't seen them.
Oh,
Yeah.
it didn't look hidden on the map, but that was why I asked.
But I know the new ones on the
Okay, I guess that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. I think, development of, go ahead. It's the planning commission, we do that.
Would you also include, I know with a lot of the industrials, we're doing the good neighbor policy and they donate trees to different parts of the city. Has any of those been planted? Have the spaces been designated? I mean, we're officially the arbor tree, whatever. So, the ambassadors of trees and living things.
I would say that we haven't started a collection yet because they don't get paid until building permit. And
Okay.
so once the funds get collected, they'll be put into an account, and we'll figure it out from there with the Public Works Department and Community Services where those funds will be allocated.
Okay.
And I appreciate it because you can only give stuff that's already been entitled, that's already been through. One of the considerations too, and I think it was mentioned, that would really help, and this is a staff thing. You had like 4.2 million acres of industrial. A breakdown on that, we know in the city, those kind of things, a simple graph or something that would be appreciated. Next one, because one of the reasons I brought it up is not just because I want to keep up with the new stuff, but look at the industrial, and then there's the sales tax and e-commerce base of industrial, which the council likes, I know. Then you also have the retail, but then we don't have any office buildings. We don't have any of those kind of things. So that ratio comes down to zoning and comes to what we approve. So that would be, not to be in detail, but you look at industrial, we know the industrial up north, and it brings in revenue if it's on spot e-commerce. But then you start talking about retail, and retail shifts up and down. Then you talk about residential, so sales tax, property tax, and all that, start having a consideration at the council level. But for us, it comes down, if you start losing business park area, and we don't even have any offices to speak of, he may want an office here, other people may want offices that make us not type A, they'd be type C, and you know what I'm talking about. Class A where you just have smaller, like Fairmount Park has just some buildings. The offices lack of that, and I know we like to do online, but still people have to meet. That ratio is being diminished, So that's why it's important to know if it's 4.2 million, it might be up to 5 million once they start build out. Then once the business park gets down to what, 0.2 million acres? So our young people are not going to be here, unless they're going to work as a sheriff or work as teachers. Goodbye. None of them want to live here. I'm just being honest. Mine won't even have anything to do with it. Because they say you don't have a place to go, I'm by. So I'm not a teacher, I'm not government. So you're going to lose that 18 to 30 unless you start having some business. Retail's okay, but retail, you can only flip so many burgers and fry so much chicken, okay? So that ratio, that's one of the reasons too. And it's not to put on you, but it's important to bring that, maybe even in the future, to see that ratio of what we have left. And we have a lot of industrial that's all pretty much going to be filled in. That impacts the streets, right, Mr. Engineer? So those streets that were collector roads may have to be secondary arterial, and go back and look at it. Now what happens to your LOS? Go from 8F, do you go down to where it's going to be jam-packed? All these developments are going to start jam-packing if we don't start circulation, ties into the type of businesses. A Rowan Expressway is lacking in a lot of stuff. Those residents are going to put up with that much longer. But that's why it's important to know percentages, ratio. And when I get to the comments for us, I'll bring up some things that I brought up earlier, but some questions. But right now, I appreciate the report, and I know you have a lot on the plate, and I know we're missing Patricia. I won't say where Patricia is. We know where she's at. Can't say. But I appreciate it, and I think it's just an ongoing. It doesn't always have to be 1 year, but just simply, there's something that's been entitled already, and again, when they put the ground, okay, we're not going to talk about future things that I'm not going to talk about here that I know about, but the idea is that at least it kind of keeps us going. Okay, so when we improve this project there, what about the circulation, or what about the truck traffic, or the truck routes going north, the truck routes going south, but. So truck routes do play an impact on zoning and what we're improving here. And if it's an all industrial, it's not a big deal. But when they start coming close to residential, okay. But anyway, that's it. Unless someone wants to ask some questions, we're not going to prolong that. Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead. I knew Jack would come in.
Just a quick question. Well, you jumped in
I
before
know.
I got there. The steel manufacturing, I believe it's not a manufacturing per se. I believe it's a facility that they they bend steel and make forms and stuff like that out of it. So it's not a heavy steel manufacturing plant.
Correct. That's just a probably more accurate description.
Yep. Thank you.
And steel, okay, thank you, sir. At this time, we move to public comments. It's going to be a short one. Anyone who wishes to address the, you got to say it, guys. The Drainage Commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. And I don't see anyone there, so we close the public comment, unless there's some invisible person. Okay, I close the public comment portion and move on to item 9. Commission members' announcements and/or reports. In either direction, if anyone wants to say anything, we'll start.
2 weeks ago, I attended the health fair right here at the city hall, the city campus, and I joined the 5K run. It was a good experience seeing everybody come out, and it was lots of fun. It was a little bit warm that day, but we pushed through, just trying to stay hydrated. This upcoming Saturday, there's a Cinco de Mayo festival right here on the same area, the city campus. It's gonna be on May 6th, so just know it's not gonna be on Friday. It's gonna be on Saturday, from 10 to 3 p.m. Just wanted to put that out there. Besides that, just thank you for everybody watching, and thank you for Kenneth and Alfredo for the presentation. I hope you all have a good night.
Sir?
Okay, I'll take it. This is Commissioner Gomez. Yeah, thank you for bringing up the Cinco de Mayo. Actually, our church has 2 booths. We are bringing over our famous tamales. There's gonna be tamales and pupusas and quesadillas, and which is like a birria quesadilla in a small version. I'm not sure how large they're going to be. Actually, I don't know. Shouldn't say. But I will be there. I'm helping out, volunteering with them as well. So I'd like to see you guys come by and have a taste. of course, it's a fundraiser for our church. I'll see about those samples, Jack. And I'm just glad to see that the city is starting to open up. The weather, although threatening at times, is definitely getting better. And I hope everyone stays safe, because I know that the weather change is also bringing a lot the colds and stuff. But yeah, so I think that's it for me. Thank you, everyone, for wishing me good wishes for not being here last time. I was not feeling well. Again, the weather is not very friendly right now, but we're good, thank God. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing? I'll only be 2 hours, that's all. Yeah, everyone will leave. Okay. Oh,
You know I have something to say.
come on. I was about to say, what's wrong?
So May 1st was college signing day, so that's a day where all seniors and anybody attending college, that's a day they have to commit to a college or university, and my daughter committed for next year. So super proud of her, super proud of all the hard work. This is when all their hard work of 4 years of struggles and fighting and everything, crying for the parents, sometimes for the kids, pays off, and it's very rewarding to see the kids excited for their future, because they're graduating, and it's bittersweet because they're leaving something that's comfortable, going on to something that's completely different. It's bittersweet for the families because some of them are moving out, like mine, which is great. I'm not gonna cry today. So that was that I think for me really stood out, was college signing day. Until I had a senior, I really didn't know it was a thing. Oh, she's gonna go to UCSD. UCSD. Oof. Far enough to be on her own, close enough to where if she needs backup, we're there. And I just wanted to thank Kenneth for that presentation. Thank you for keeping us updated. It's really nice to see the layout. And I have to say, when I saw breaking for September's, I was like ready to drive over there and have dinner. Very disappointed, and I was like, where is it? Oh, it's not open. I would have shown up and had no food there. Excited for the things that are coming to our city, all the hard work that everybody puts in. I always look forward to meeting and seeing everybody here and reconnecting. It's a really, really nice, warm, welcoming environment, and I look forward to spending time with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. I was at the health fair, too. I dragged myself there, but I was at the health fair. Perfect weather. The weather was perfect, and I sat with the, and I don't think they wanted me there, but I sat with them anyway. I had loudmouth there, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. The city always puts on a good health fair. The only problem was when I got on the other city attorney in the restaurant and says, you've got 2 fast food places as signs here, and it's supposed to be a health fair. So we kind of missed that one, right? We're talking burgers and fried chicken. So I said, okay, and I couldn't cover it up. It was right out in front of everybody going, this is a health fair? Oh, once a week? No. But no, it was really nice, and the city always does a good job with that. There was a lot of stuff there, a lot of booze there, a lot of things there. So it was really a great time. And I think the city does a lot of things well. I mean, it's just, we can't compliment enough the staff and the way they just really treated me so well. I'm getting better. I'm not ready to run track, but I'm like 95% there. Yeah. I have one request, and this is more of an explanation thing. I may have it wrong, but this is basically a city attorney thing that you could discuss. Now, if I got the wrong number right, but I think it might be just a brief discussion. I think it's SB 330. And we missed the Planning Commission conference, but I know for sure they're going to be discussing that. Now, without getting into details, we'll leave that for that time, but it's the state of California, let's just say nicely, might be intruding, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so we might want to know the ins and outs, the aspects of that from a legal standpoint, if it comes to us, what it means. I know we've discussed it, but I think it is an issue for Planning Commission to at least understand, because it could affect multifamily housing units. And you have to spring up to 10 to 15,000 instead of what we have now. We have to start looking at that. They've been on the city of LA for a long time about that. We didn't have a problem. We'll build condos. You have a problem out here. A lot of single family residences, how would that be impacted? What impact would it have? if at all. And at least should be aware of it. I know the council is, but we should be at least aware of it because you don't have a whole lot of units going up. I hate to say it. And the need for multi-track housing, I've been talking about for a long time. There's nowhere near enough apartments and condos and that because it's what I call the circle. You know, as you get a senior and you've got these 7,000 square foot properties that people don't want to do the lawns, they want to go back. So they revert back to the condo living. And the young people they start there and they go to the house. You got to have that whole circle. When you don't have that, they say bye-bye to the city parish. So they'll be here till they're 18 and they take off and say, what happened to it? Well, what am I going to do here? I can't live here. You got to have that entry level. And we have Urban Village right over here. And some other major decisions that may have to be made about that. But I think that would be helpful, just to give a brief overview. We don't need all the case, but what it means and what it could mean or what it doesn't mean to us. But I think since we didn't have that opportunity there, and I know they discussed that, it's definitely a planning commission or purview area that we need to understand if it's going to have any impact. Is it affordable housing? Is whatever affordable housing means. But how would that impact? Because we already have our housing element submitted. Is that adequate? Okay. So that will affect also the number of people on the roadways and vehicle travel. So I would appreciate that sometime in the immediate future because we don't know when it takes effect. We don't know what that's going to, but we don't be blindsided. Okay? That's it. And I think, unless there's something else. Our time for our director's development service report and their information. I think you gave us a good report, so.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. Just real quickly, just a few updates. We also have movies at the park next Friday, May 12th. It'll be at Paragon Park. It'll be from 7 to 10 p.m. If anybody is interested, or just for the public who might be hearing this meeting, just want to inform them that they can attend this city-sponsored event if they have kids, family, or they just want to hang out among other residents of Paris. In addition, you see Sylvia Arvizu here tonight, and
Where?
so she's gonna take over being kind of the secretary for the Planning Commission. And so we're doing the transition. Lupita transitions out, and then Sylvia transitions in. Lupita might be here for maybe one more meeting, or she's ready to go at the next meeting. But I'll let them we'll talk about that if they'll be here together next meeting, or we'll see Sylvia here next week. And it's a good benefit because Sylvia does a lot of coordination for our tour and just different activities the Planning Commission may have, and just it's a good way to kind of have that quick interaction. I think it would be productive to do that.
In other words, we just ran Lupita out. That's what we were
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
In addition, I just want to let you know that we do right now. I foresee we're not going to skip any Planning Commission for the foreseeable future. So the next Planning Commission is May 17th. And currently scheduled, we have 4 items for that Planning Commission meeting. So we look like we have a pretty busy schedule ahead. So I just want to let you know that. And with that said, I hope you have a good.
I forgot one thing, and we had talked about it earlier. Is it CityNet? CityNet, and we don't even go to. She had mentioned it about trying to find resources for the homeless that we at least know about it. And they swifted from the other one, and now it's CityNet. But is there a contact? I think you mentioned.
The number, just for, is 951 area code, 390 3567.
67. Okay, CityNet. Okay.
And if you do see issues, you can reach out to the Housing Authority from our city, or you can reach out to Code, and they kind of work with CityNet.
Okay. Is this for housing? Homeless. I can't remember the name, but something, I forgot the name, but the city went on to CityNet. They're now they use CityNet. No.
That's correct.
I've seen a van or something driving around, but I wasn't sure the name, so CityNet. Okay, Housing Authority and Code Enforcement.
Correct.
Okay. Almost forgot that one. So hopefully. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. And then without further ado, and welcome, Sylvia. I've never seen you before. It's only been how many years? Now knowing I'm here, she still wants to come here. I can't believe it. Did she suffer enough? Yeah, I know. But Peter will still be around, so don't go to Minifield. We'll forget your name and we'll know who you are. Okay. 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 And thank you to our city attorney and our interpreter. I think I might have left, but they're still there. Okay. Okay. Anyway, without any further ado, we will have adjournment. And adjournment here is easy. I mean, we adjourn and just pick a person. We don't care. We're all in favor of adjournment unless you want to be here late at night. Okay.